It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stores are watching this Friday, March 20. Fuel prices expected to see another sharp increase next week. Industry sources say diesel projected to rise by up to 14 pesos and 50 centavos per liter, which could push the product to nearly 130 pesos per liter. Gasoline prices are also seen going up by up to 7 pesos and 50 per liter, potentially surpassing 100 pesos per liter. The estimates are based on 4 days of trading data and may still change depending on the final market moments.
President Bongbong Marcos says the country has sufficient food supplies despite tensions in the Middle East. He said food manufacturers have agreed to keep prices steady for as long as possible, with some expecting no price movements for at least 1 to 2 months. The president added that the administration is also looking for alternative sources of fuel as global oil prices continue to skyrocket.
The Economy and Development Council has approved a shift to a 3-term school calendar starting school year 2026 to 2027. This is to address lost learning time caused by frequent class disruptions. The plan proposed by the Department of Education will replace the current 4 grading system with 3 longer terms to allow for more continuous instruction. Officials say the change is intended to help stabilize student learning and reduce interruptions from weather and other scheduled disruptions.
The House Committee on Justice has invited Vice President Sara Duterte to personally attend the March 25 hearing on her impeachment that was filed last year. The panel said the invitation covers allegations including misuse of confidential funds, threats against the president, and unexplained wealth, among others. The Vice President's camp has yet to confirm if she will show up to the hearing next week.
And joining us today is Storycon's resident political heckler, Tito Ronald Llamas.
Happy long weekend!
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
Happy Eid Mubarak. At tayo lamang ang nagtatrabaho.
Hindi naman. There were a lot of cars on the road today. Sabihin mo you wanna tell them
Dito, sa floor na to, tayo lang.
about your secular...
Ikaw naman iba naman yung ibang
yung office
trabaho
work.
nila eh.
Okay.
Kaya pala simpatya eh.
Kung sino yung walang TF, siya yung may pasok.
That's true. That I cannot argue with. From the Philippine Star, let's bring in Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Hi, Ami. No, siya lang din mag-isa doon.
Hi everyone. Happy weekend.
Ami, ba't walang tao sa inyo?
Bakasyon ano?
Bakit? Nagpapakasyon kayo?
Kulang pa yan. Magdadatingan yan maya-maya. Madilim lang yan.
Tinangali
Madilim.
sila ng gising. Iba yun.
Nag-uumpisa pa lang yung ano eh. Nag-uumpisa pa lang dito.
Mga dyaryo eh.
Sabagay, you put the paper to bed mga 10 o'clock?
Mamaya pa, oo.
Mamaya pa.
Nag-datingan pa lang.
Mahalaga yung araw ngayon dahil senior na yung peso at centenarian na yung diesel.
Gasolina.
100 and... I was just checking Brent crude prices today. 102.97. So bumaba from yesterday.
Next week, 130 na.
Ano ba?
Ang diesel locally or Brent crude globally?
Dito.
Oo.
Naglabas na ang
Up to 14 pesos.
Sa Tuesday, 130.
Pero indications pa lang
Estimates
naman
pa lang
yun.
yun, Bok. 4-day estimate pa lang yan. May isa pang araw ngayon na kailangan tapusin.
Parang masyado kayo optimistic ka.
Good news, good news.
Parang hope springs eternal.
Ikaw yun eh. That's
good
your
news, good
role.
news.
That's Ami's
May
role.
parating daw na ano.
Oh.
May parating daw na 300,000 barrels of diesel from a Southeast Asian country by next week.
Yes.
So baka hindi
300,000
matuloy ang
barrels.
ganyang kalaking
But that's
pagtaas.
only good for about a
One
day.
One day.
A day and a half.
Not even daw eh.
1 day lang yun.
Not even 1
Teka
day.
lang, ano ka ba? She is trying to find the silver lining,
Good
okay? The good news. Kayo na talaga.
Sobrang silver
Kahit
lining
yung
half day,
SWS
One day
survey,
lang.
33% of Pinoys, kahit sa laki ng problema, although hindi yata factor din tong oil prices, 33% of Pinoys are very happy, quote-unquote, with their life.
Teka, anong petsa yan?
Hindi, baka palagi ko
before
hindi nga
pa.
kasama yung ano
Hindi pa
pa.
kasama yung war.
Pero,
Pero,
before.
Kasi ninibago ko dun sa ano eh.
33.
Mukhang yung...
Very happy with
Pero we have to compare to previous years. Feeling ko mas
Yeah.
mataas
Is it
yan yung
up or
previous
down?
years eh.
Mukhang tingin ng mga analysts ay tatagal pa ito na mahigit 1 month. Dahil
Tumigil nga dyan.
Ito pang good news from abroad. Yung several European countries and Japan ngayon are willing now to help the US stabilize the Strait of Hormuz. Pero yung dalawang bansa doon ang caveat nila, kailangan mag-ceasefire muna.
Pagkatapos ng ceasefire.
Including Germany
Oh, in other words,
Well, medyo madali-dali naman yung
gera,
ano.
saka sila papasok.
Okay.
Oo.
Okay. Ami is right.
At
We have
least,
to keep
at least
looking.
that's
We have to keep looking for the good news.
Looking for the sunshine.
Because
hindi, the
Malay
electrics
ko,
yan eh.
napapagod nawawala na ng kakampi si Trump, medyo naghahanap na nga yan ng graceful exit, di ba sabi natin. Papunta na siya ng Cuba. Kaya maganda na may nagsasalita niya. I mean, he might be more willing to talk about a ceasefire. And kahit naman ng Iran, hindi niya
Hindi
pwedeng
papayag ang
awayin
Iran.
forever lahat ng kapitbahay niya.
Hindi papayag ang Iran at this point. Ang graceful exit kasi ni Trump is, whether he likes it or not, ay yung safe passage sa Strait of Hormuz. To do that, ay kinakailangan mo ng boots on the ground. Yung 400-kilometer shoreline na hawak ng Iran, kailangan i-occupy nila para mapigilan
Baka
yung mga
mag-away na lang
drones
sila
at
ng
saka yung
drone.
kwan. Saka
Baka
yung
ano na
aquatic
lang, drone
mines.
warfare.
Yun yung problema nila, yung aquatic mines. Just a few aquatic mines nung tanker wars nung 87, tinigil yung buong Strait of Hormuz totally. At ngayon, the same old aquatic mines ang ginagamit nila. Yun yung problema ngayon.
Ako, mas positive ako. Negative po yan eh.
Pero even if they
Ronald.
occupy the coast, they still have drones eh. And those drones, they can travel for several hundred kilometers eh.
Hindi lang
it
naman
goes
sila may
beyond the
drone.
coast.
Yes. Kaya nga, pero hindi pwedeng umalis ang US. Wala siyang graceful exit. Nang-aalis lang siya. Ang kanyang graceful exit ay yung Strait of Hormuz na hindi iiwanan ng Iran. No? Ang Israel, regime change ang habol nila. So for now, yung objectives ng Iran to shame Israel and the US at yung by surviving at yung graceful exit ng US to secure the Strait of Hormuz at yung gusto ng Israel na regime change ay parehong nagja-jibe na tatagal pa yung gera.
Yes.
Not a single one do sa combatants ay for now gusto na matapos immediately yung gera.
Nakaka-depress ang kausap talaga.
Yun lang naman yung sinasabi
Hindi.
natin. Oo.
And the time for graceful exit has lapsed. I don't think there is any more graceful exit after more than 3 weeks of continuous bombing.
Halo na siya eh. Hindi, siya tatawag na graceful exit yun para sa kanya.
Okay.
Wala
So
nang
the light
graceful
at the end of the
exit. Halo na siya.
tunnel is actually an oncoming drone.
Ito ang
Yeah.
good news. 6 of the major allies of the United States has said they were ready to contribute to ensuring the safe passage
Yung
of
sinabi-
vessels.
yung sinabi
Yeah, I know.
Yan na nga yun.
Pero identify natin. Balikan natin.
Kung may ceasefire.
Britain. Teka lang. No.
Hindi, yung dalawa lang ang nagsasabi ng ceasefire. Dalawa lang.
So that's Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the Netherlands. All said they're ready to help ensure safe passage of the
Yeah.
vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. But Italy and Germany said that doesn't mean immediate military help. They're talking about an initiative
Ceasefire.
after the ceasefire. Correct. But there's still 4, Ami. I'm trying to...
Yeah, that there's still for. Baka
Yung halaga
madagdagan
dyan,
pa
yung
yan over
salitang
the weekend.
ceasefire.
Hindi, kasi lahat
Sabihin,
naman nag-duty
bigyan mo na
sa-
kami putukan, saka kami yung makikialam.
Ibig sabihin ng ceasefire, tigil yung gera.
Ikaw naman, I'm trying to take a leaf from her
Hindi, dalawa
book
lang
and
naman
see
yan
the
eh.
positive.
Baka madagdagan pa yan over
Yun
the
naman yung mahalaga
weekend.
sa atin, di ba? Cup half full, half empty. Tawag dyan, dialectics, di ba?
But did you guys
Mas marami yung
Alam mo yung parang
apat,
yan,
mas marami yung
ang-
5 kaysa dun sa 2.
Oh, exactly.
Pwede pang
Exactly.
madagdagan yan
Ami,
over
ang
the
parallel
weekend.
niyan, parang sinabi ng Pilipinas, sasama kami dyan, basta't may barko kami na aabot dyan.
Hindi tayo makakasama dyan,
The
sinabi ng
intent is
Gibo.
there. Kahit pa paano, o di ba? Teka lang. Alam mo, it reminds me of that.
Kayo, napaka-pessimistic nyo.
It reminds me. It reminds
Gusto ko,
me
I want to
of,
look on the bright side.
It reminds me of U.S. Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, whatever you want to call it, Pete Hegseth, chastising U.S. media for the way that they've been covering the war, right?
He's funny.
He's actually, I don't know if you guys saw that clip sa Pentagon.
Yeah.
He was giving a press conference and then he was lambasting the media for the way they've been covering the war.
Don't say the war is intensifying.
Exactly.
Ano sabi niya?
Iran is losing. Why don't you say instead of the war is intensifying in Iran, is that Iran is losing the war?
Yeah.
Bakit daw yung mali yung framing na? I had to,
Hindi, sabi nga ni...
and I had to, wait, is this the US or China? I'm confused.
Narinig mo yung sabi ni Hegseth. The Strait of Hormuz is open. No, the only problem
Is
is
Iran closed parts of
Iran is shooting. That's the only.
ganun pala ang
That's the only
reframing.
problem. Yeah.
Okay.
It's open.
Oo nga naman.
Don't
Uy.
say that it's
Oo
closed.
nga naman.
It's open. Kayong media, sinasabi nyo it's
Oo nga
closed.
naman.
It's
alam
open.
Alam mo, Ami, ikaw yung dyaryo. Are you taking notes?
Oh, it's just up to you to
Pero kapag losing
avoid the
na si
bullets and the
Iran,
missiles.
pwede nang umalis si US. Kayo naman eh.
Okay. Ganun pala
Pag
ang
sinabi
framing.
nilang talo na si Iran, pwede na silang umalis. Regardless of whether you think kalokohan lang yon. Pag sinabi ni Trump, panalo na kami, alis na kami, goodbye!
Yes. Pwede din. That's true. He could do that. But that doesn't protect them from getting retaliated upon, right, by Iran.
Kayo kasi puro kayo mga bias sa
We
kabayaran.
cannot live without securing the Strait of Hormuz. Ganun kasimple yun eh.
Kaya nga pumapasok na ibang bansa kasi hindi lang naman US ang affected dyan.
The whole world is affected.
The entire planet is affected already. Kaya papasok dyan ang ibang bansa.
I mean, how one man can wreak so much havoc across the world. is-
Yung ibang bansa, sinasabi nila yan.
Pero
Pero, dapat may ceasefire. No?
Yung dalawa nga lang, yung dalawa.
maybe it is all down to the framing of the war, no? Depende lang how we frame it.
Tapos yung Israel, hindi papayag. Regime change
Of
talaga.
course.
Kaya talaga naman Israel, talaga namang long-term ano nila yun.
Oh, that
From
was-
the start,
that was
siya ng goal
really
nila.
their
Pareho lang
goal.
sila ng Iran.
Exactly.
Mutual
Ang tingin kasi nila
annihilation
ngayon,
sila.
now is the time.
To strike.
Oo, kung hindi nila mapapabagsak yung gobyerno ngayon, hindi na nila mapapabagsak. Yun lang pa nila.
Talking about
Marami ng ganyang gera dyan sa Middle East.
talking about the whole world being affected by this crisis in the Middle East. Let's bring in somebody who knows a little bit about that. We're talking to the Assistant Chief of DTI's Surveillance and Monitoring Division, Joel Buwag. Welcome to Storycon, Mr. Buwag.
Hello, good afternoon to all of you. Magandang hapon po sa mga nanonood po ng Storycon.
Magandang hapon, sir.
Hello.
Sir, tama ba? Intindi namin dun sa Pangulo, expected no price movement, well, at least with some expecting no price movement for at least 1 or 2 months. Is that a feasible thing to hope for?
Pumunta na ba yung presidente
oo.
sa palengke?
Last Monday po nakipag-meeting po yung aming pong secretary, sa Secretary Cristina Roque sa mga manufacturer, at pinangako po nila na within 30 to 60 days hindi po sila magtataas ng mga pangunahing bilihin. Kanina po si Pangulo po umikot sa isang canned goods company at pinangakuan din po si Pangulo ng 30 to 60 days po hindi po sila magtataas ng presyo.
Mr. Buwag, nakapunta na ba kayo ng grocery these past few days or palengke?
Yes po.
Yes,
Opo,
nagtaas sila Nagtaas sila. May penalty ba sila pag nagtaas?
Opo, may penalty po yun. Ang rule po natin dito, under po sa Price Act o RA 7594, klaro po doon, pag po nakasuhan kayo ng profit hearing o yung inyo pong binebenta ay mas mataas ng 10% from the previous month, pwede po kayong kasuhan ng profit hearing at meron po itong fine na 5,000 to 2 million pesos o imprisonment of 5 years to 15 years.
But,
Yung mga gas stations ba pwedeng kasuhan ng profiteering?
Pwede po, pero po yan po yung under po ng Department of Energy.
Sir, can we come back to your point about profiteering sa groceries and retailers nationwide? I mean, how do you even prove profiteering? Because if you look at their operations, nagtaas na rin yung expenses nila for shipping, transportation,
Logistics.
manpower, etc., etc. So how are you going to prove profiteering in this case?
Okay, ang first naman po namin ini-issue, in case po na sila magkaroon ng presyo na above suggested retail price, nag-issue po kami ng letter of inquiry kung saan kailangan po nila magpaliwanag kung bakit po sila above SRP. Depende po kung ano po ang sagot nila doon. If ever man po ito po ay sabihin na natin katanggap-tanggap, ibibigay po ito namin sa Policy Bureau namin, yung Consumer Protection and Advocacy Bureau, para po ipaliwanag din nila sa manufacturer bakit nagkaganito. Kasi po, ang sabi ko nga po kanina sa simula, nangako ang ating mga manufacturer na hindi sila magtataas ng presyo.
But
Ano po ang penalty?
Para po sa ating mga tigapakinig, paano nyo po sila tutulungang makita o mabunyag kung itong mga ito ay nagtataas ng presyo para ma-report sa inyo at saka sa media? Ano yung ibig sabihin na lalabag sa SRP?
Opo. Sa ngayon po, meron po tayong SRP bulletin po na nasa website po namin, dti.gov.ph. Nakasulat po kung ano po yung mga produkto under ng SRP, katulad po ng mga
Bigas.
instant noodles, sardinas, tinapay, gatas, kape, bottled water, asin, detergent bar, at kandila. Yung pong bigas po ay under po sa Department of Agriculture. Pero sa cloud din po yan, under ng Price Act. Nasa website po namin yan. Wala pong, madali naman po. Tumawag lang po sila sa DTI 1384 para po i-report nila kung saan nilang nakitang tindahan yon at kayo po ay aming papupuntahan.
Ano po
Ami,
ang penalty kapag na ano ninyo? For profiteering or hoarding or kung ano man yan?
Opo, tatlo po yun sa illegal price manipulation under po ng Price Act. Kanina, sabi ko nga po, may fines po itong 5,000 to 2 million pag napatunayan po. At may imprisonment pa po ito ng 5 years to 15 years.
So
Sir-
it's a criminal offense, ha?
Yes po,
Criminal offense,
pero
ha?
under po sa court.
Meron na
Sir,
ba?
yung cut-off po, bale, kung titignan mo yung mga presyo, yung cut-off dapat is 10% ng ang increase from
Tama.
the previous month. Yun ang kailangan bantayan namin kung umakyat ng 10% dun sa nakaraang buwan. Pero to be fair din po to
does it factor in the war?
Oo, to be fair din to the grocery people and the people sa palengke, hindi kaya apektado rin sila ng transportation and cost.
Logistics
Kumbaga,
cost.
baka naman mamaya maganda naman na merong control dun sa presyo, pero baka naman mamaya hindi siya realistic. Yun lang po.
Oo nga po
Hindi rin siya fair.
Nung March 11 po na Senate hearing po, umatin po yung aming kalihim at sinabi nga po niya na ang possible pong itaas ng produkto ng mga pangunahing produkto po ay yung logistic cost. Nandun po yung malaking problema natin. Kaya nga po ang hinihiling po niya ay sana ay kung kayang isuspend muna temporarily yung pong cost share o cost, what you call this, fourth share at yung pong ating toll fees para po medyo kahit paano mabawasan natin yung pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin.
But of course,
Pwede nyo bang i-request yan sa mga gas stations? Dahil sila yung pinakamalaki ang tinaas
DOE. DOE nga yun.
Hindi, ng gobyerno. Hindi ba nila pwedeng
Ano ba?
gawin yan? Sila pinakamalaking tinaas kaya tumataas ang presyo ng bilihin
More than 10%.
Oo.
Opo.
100% na
Yeah.
Pero iba yata
Hindi,
po ang
magkakaroon daw ng
sa DOE.
2-month discount. Ang toll concessionaires, they announced already, they will have a 2-month discount for freight transport sector lang naman.
But coming back to your suggested retail price, so dun sa Senate hearing, pinakausapan na, but that's all it is. Pakiusap lang yon because, again, we keep coming back to the fact that we're in a free market, in which case the government cannot impose price ceilings unless President Marcos declares an emergency, a state of emergency. So wala pa naman yon. So at this point, I mean, how are you going to prove your case? Kasi nga, the DTI can't set prices at this point.
Pero bakit may
Of
mga
course.
penalties?
Kaya nga, so they have to prove profiteering, but it's gonna be hard to prove. Ang
So yung
pagkakaalam
10%.
ko, I mean, SRP is just that, right? It's suggested retail
proposal.
price.
Proposal.
Hindi siya price ceiling. So,
Kaya nga po kami po sa DTI po, ang aming pong kalihim ay nakikiusap po sa mga manufacturer po na huwag muna magtaas. At sila naman po ay nangako na within 30 to 60 days ay hindi po sila magtataas ng mga presyo ng mga pangunahing bilihin.
Pero sir, iba
May isa
pong
pang
phase...
problema, may isa pang concern, Mr. Yung panic buying. Nagmo-monitor ko yun, nakikita namin araw-araw, may mga picture kami ninyo paikot-ikot . Nakikita na ba kayo in the wet markets or supermarkets? Any indication na gano'n? Wala naman?
Sa ngayon po, ma'am, wala naman po kami nakikita sa supermarket at grocery na iniukutan namin. Ano? Last Wednesday, kasama namin ang DA at si Presidente, nag-ikot kami sa Agora Market, ay hindi naman po kami nakakita ng mga panic buying po. Ano? Pero sabi nga po namin, pinakiusap po namin sa publiko, na sana po ay huwag po, dahil po isinusyon naman po ng gobyerno na maging stable po ang presyo at ang supply. Kasi po pagkakaroon po tayo ng artificial na kakulangan sa pangunahing bilihin kung magkakaroon po ng panic buying.
Ano bang ibig sabihin ng panic buying, Mr. Buwag? Halimbawa, bibili ako ng pagkain for 2 months. Is that panic buying?
Opo, kasi po ang point lang po natin, ano po ba yung habit natin sa pagbili ng mga pag nag-grocery tayo? Pag po tayo ay sa tingin niyo po ay sobra-sobra po yung binili natin. Kasi nasa isip po natin yan na kailangan kong magtabi ng mga produkto ko. Baka kasi mamaya wala na ito. Doon, masasabi yung panic buying. Pero sabi ko nga, yung pangamba lang yun eh. Kaya totoo lang po, wala pong ganun. Hindi po tayo magkakaroon po ng kakulangan sa mga supply ng pangunahing bilihin.
So wala kayong definition ng panic buying for now? Anong ibig sabihin ng panic buying? Na pagsasabihan ka nung palengke na nagpa-panic buying ka na?
Wala naman po, wala po. Kasi po, ang sabi ko nga po sa inyo, para pong yung sobra-sobra pong pagtatago ng pagkain po sa bahay nyo. Kasi meron po kami kasi definition sa hoarding. Pero iba naman po yun eh.
Sir, naintindihan ko sasabi niyo na nakausap ng Pangulo ang mga manufacturer. Pero yung mga manufacturer is only one sector ng merkado. You also have the retailers. And in the end, sila yung kausap o kahalubilo o katunggali ng consumer. How sure are we na dun sa sektor ng mga retailer hindi magtataas ng presyo gayong meron ng assurance na walang gagalaw ng 1 to 2 months dun sa manufacturing side? Kasi nga may transportation cost
Konektado ron, Mr. Buwag, saan mo pipigilan yung yung pag-control ng presyo? Dun sa last mile o dun sa first mile? No, paano yung kasi yung retailers last mile na yun eh. That's the last mile. So saan ba nag-uugat yan? 'Di ba? Paano pag nagsimula yan dito? Wala kang choice kundi yung last mile, talagang ganun yung magiging presyo. Which is, sa definition nyo, pag more than 10% is profiteering.
Tama po. Kasi po ang DTI naman po ay nakikipag-ugnayan din sa mga retailer. Meron po silang mga asosasyon, yung mga retailers po natin. Nakikipag-meeting din po sila sa amin, sa DTI, through CPAB. At pinag-uusapan din about po rito sa mga para po maiwasan natin pagtaas pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. Tungkol din ba sa tanong nyo, of course, ang una po natin yung pinagbumulan po ng bilihin, yung po mga manufacturer. Doon po, tinitingnan po natin doon kung dapat wag po maging mataas yung ititinda nila o ibebenta nilang produkto sa mga retailer. Kasi po, domino effect na po ito. Kung mataas ang pagkakakuha ng manufacturer, papatong pa po yung logistic cost, paano na po yung retailer? Yung retailer po, kailangan mo mag-mark up pa rin, di ba?
Yes, pero halimbawa, galing sa magsasaka, dadali nila sa palengke yung kanilang produkto. Yung pagdala sa palengke sa produkto ay nag 100% increase dahil sa presyo ng langis. So bawal sila mag-increase, no? Kahit ganun kalaki yung naging increase sa kanilang transport cost.
Coming back to my question, which is the same point of Ed and Ronald, I think, how do you distinguish yung legitimate pass-on costs sa profiteering? When in fact, oil prices have jumped malaki in the past 3 weeks, di ba?
100%.
So how are you going to distinguish that? Hindi na pwedeng yung 10%, I don't think holds in this scenario because this is a crisis.
Kasi kailangan namin maging patas, sir. Kailangan namin maging patas sa lahat, pati dun sa mga...
Siyempre, ayaw namin tumaas na mahigit 10%. Dahil consumer din kami.
Tama po.
Ang tanong ay paano gagawin yon, no?
Kung tutusin po, sir, pag po tinignan natin yung takbo po ng pagpapatong po ng produkto mula po sa manufacturer, yung logistic cost po kumakatawan po sa 3 to 6% po ng total cost po nung mula sa sa manufacturing. At ito po ang nagiging issue natin because of sa ngayon yung logistic rate increase po ay umaabot na sa 30 to 50%. Yun po yung itinaas. Na kaya po nga po ang iniiwasan natin dito ay pumatong pa yung pagtaas po din ng manufacturing cost na ang sabi nga po ng mga manufacturer pinapangako nila na hindi muna sa ngayon. Lagi po namin sinasabi sa ngayon, hindi muna sila magtataas.
Pero yung mga manufacturers, sir, nag-i-import din yung mga raw materials yan, di ba?
Yeah.
Opo. Kaya nga po, ano po ito kumbaga, domino effect po ito Of course, magkakaroon tayo ng issue sa yung dollar exchange rate natin, medyo mataas na rin po. At I'm sure yung mga imported products po nito, pag angkat po ay magtataas na rin po. Pero hindi lang po yung kaagad-agad magiging apekto sa manufacturing. Talaga po ang tinitingnan po ng kagawaran ay yung pong logistic cost kasi po ito po yung talagang ngayon dahil po sa taas ng langis ay talaga pong ito po yung magiging apekto agad.
Pero sir,
Pero nakakakuha na ba kayo ng report from yung manufacturers na nagkakahirapan na ba ng pagkuha ng raw materials nila from overseas? Kasi pati yung mga
po, madam, wala naman po kami nakukuha report tungkol po diyan at wala naman po sila sinasabi sa amin na nahihirapan po sila.
Pero so there are also reports coming out quoting the Energy Regulatory Commission na saying na baka as early as April magtaas ng piso kada kilowatt hour yung signal sa kuryente. And that is going, if that does happen, that's going to have a huge impact on manufacturing.
Tama po kayo po. Kaya nga po ang sinasabi po ng mga manufacturer, tinitingnan muna po sila. Ang pinapangako po nila, within 30 to 60 days ay hindi sila magtataas. Kung anong po mangyari in the future, sa ngayon po, hindi ko pa po masasabi about that.
Hindi po kayo nagpa-plan for in case this war,
yung pong aming policy
drags
group
on?
po, yung Consumer Protection Advocacy Bureau, under po nila yung planning. Kami po kasi, ang grupo ko po ay nag-handle po ng monitoring. Sila po ang nag-handle po sa planning.
Okay, sir, balikan ko lang para malinaw sa lahat kasi kami minsan naguguluhan din So as far as DTI is concerned, SRP, of course, is suggested retail price. It is only suggested. It is not mandatory. However, kung sakaling lumagpas ka ng 10% doon sa presyo mo noong nakaraang buwan, pwede kang habulin ng profiteering.
Tama po.
Yung po balay ang paghuhugutan namin mga consumer na, teka, lumagpas ka ng 10%.
Meron na bang nag-report, Mr. Buwag? Meron na ba nagreklamo ng mga consumers na itong grocery na ito, itong palengking ito, nagtataas na mahigit 10%?
Kalimitan po. Ang palengke po, ang grocery and supermarket po, meron po kami na-receive na mga report.
So, pinarusahan nyo na?
Opo, ito po ay on-process po ng validation. Babalidate namin ito at ito po ay magkakaroon po ng due process.
Ano yung pinaka-light na penalty? First offense,
5,000 po.
halimbawa.
Fine po is 5,000 to 2 million.
Okay. So when you say in the process
Parang ayuda.
in the process of
5,000 yung penalty.
Opo, nakadepende po ito kasi
Wait.
sa capitalization po
Okay.
nila.
So when you say in the process of validation, ano yan? Pinupuntahan nyo mismo and then you talk to
Yes
the
po.
retailers and to the groceries? Is that right?
Yes po. Pinupuntahan po namin yan. Kapag po naka-receive kami, kung nagkatop na po kami sa kinabukasan na po namin mapupuntahan yung pong ni-report po nila.
At this point, wala pa pong nape-penalize.
Yung pong, because of dito sa pagtaas ng presyo ng langis, sa ngayon po, wala pa po. Kasi iba naman po yung naging kwento natin kapag may kalamidad. Iba, last year, yun po, meron po mga na-penalize doon.
And how many cases are you looking at right now?
Right now, sa ngayon, hindi ko pa po masabi yan. Dahil po, sabi ko nga po, wala pa naman po kaming nakikitang mga paglabag na validated, at may due process pa rin naman.
I'm talking about the cases that are under validation. You said earlier that you're in the process of validating the complaints that you received. So, mga ilang kaso kaya yon?
Here in Metro Manila, madam, meron na po kaming at least 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And nationwide?
Nationwide po, wala lang pong hawak kong data.
Pakiulit, Mr. Buwag, anong penalty nyo sa mga lalabag? Diyan?
Opo, ang penalty po sa mga lalabag po, under po sa profiteering, ito po ay mula 5,000 hanggang 2 million po. At may pagkakulong po mula 5 years hanggang 15 years po.
Hanggang 2 million pa pala.
But
5 to 15 years.
So, mahaba naman.
Pero malayo yun,
Oo.
5,000 to 2
At
years.
may alam ba kayong nakulong na?
Lagi lang yung gawa, di ba?
Mr. Buwag, may alam ba kayong nakulong na for profiteering?
Opo, nung pong nung medyo bago-bago pa po ako sa DTI, if I'm not mistaken, that's
Oo.
2010, meron po kami sinumpa sa korte, no? Ang naging concern lang po dito ay nagpaliwanag po yung tinder, yung may-ari ng tindahan. Unfortunately po, nawala po ako ng information about doon kasi nung time pong yun, hindi pa po ako under sa monitoring group eh. Pero meron po. Na-file kami sa korte.
Sir, yung kinikwento nyo nung bago pa lang kayo sa DTI, ang tagal na nun.
2010 po yun, madam, sir.
2010.
Yes,
Opo.
sir. That's going 16 years ago.
Opo. Pero marami po kasi kami yung fines po. Inaano po namin ng
Oh,
fines.
Mr. Buwag, that was my point at the start nga, which is that profiteering in this country is very hard to prove, lalo na kapag may crisis like as we are experiencing right now. I don't think the 10% will hold anymore kasi nga the price of oil everywhere in the world has gone up. So do you think you guys might look at readjusting your assumptions about profiteering at this point?
Yes po. Lahat naman po ito under po review po ng aming pong policy group. If ever po sa tingin namin na mali na po yung aming pong mga datos o yung aming pong tinitingnan mga porsyento ay pwede naman po i-adjust pero subject pa rin po sa approval po ng aming pong policy group.
Kasi ang naalala ko dun sa sinasabi ni Ami na yung kinukulong talaga is you have to prove that it has that they've repeated it over a period of time, that they're habitually profiteering.
Parang
Oo,
recidivist.
hindi lang yung one-off na profiteering,
Third offense.
kinulong ka agad. Let's make that clear, no? Kasi usually ang penalties for profiteering is only 5,000. And yun nga, the DTI itself, I know, finds it very hard to prove profiteering. So
Yes,
so
po.
sa lahat ng mga kaso na natanggap nyo at this point in time, I'm just wondering how you're going to strengthen your oversight mechanism here para masigurado na, okay, kung talagang may profiteering, that you hold those accountable and not just slap them with a 5,000 peso fine, right?
So, yes po.
Eh, kung malaki kang company, dahil mo abogado. Ang hirap mong kasuhan.
That's the other thing. Oh.
Kung ikaw ay isang stall lang sa palengke, madali kang kasuhan.
And wag naman ganun sana, sir, no, na only the small players are getting penalized.
Alam mo po, just for your information, ma'am, doon po sa mga profiteering pong case namin because of the calamity, marami pong malalaking kumpanya, malaking tindahan po ang nakasuhan doon.
Di ba yung mga
At this point, gusto ba ng DTI that President Marcos calls a state of emergency para magka-price freeze na tayo? Is that something being talked about?
Sa ngayon po, wala pa pong stand ang aming pong DTI Secretary. Hindi ko pa po narinig na nasabi po dyan. Pero if ever po, ang DOE po ang magsasabi o mag-recommend po sa Pangulo kung kakailanganin po mag-recommend ng state of national emergency.
Pwede rin mag-recommend ng DTI, sir. Any agency
Yes,
can recommend
pwede
for that matter. I mean, of course, it's up to President Marcos, but any agency can recommend.
Sabi kasi ni
Yes, po.
Yusek Claire Trust, walang emergency eh. So baka pag nag-recommend kayo, baka
Kasi walang krisis. Ano ba?
Si
Walang
Garin.
krisis eh.
Walang
Si Sharon
Okay.
Garin yun.
We'll
No oil
Wala ring oil.
crisis.
we'll leave kasi walang oil, walang crisis. We'll leave that there. But thank you so much for talking
you, sir.
to us and explaining
Thank you.
all of that. That was
Mr.
Mr. Joel
Joel
Buwag from the
Buwag.
DTI
Salamat, sir.
Maraming salamat
Thank you.
po.
Monitoring Division.
Meron ka na bang nakitang big player na nakasuhan ng profiteering?
If they have been, yung penalty,
Penalty
pagkaan lang yun sa
5,000.
kanila eh, diba? It's just a drop in the bucket. But of course, the bigger the player, the harder it is to prove profiteering. Kasi nga, as you said, they have a lot of lawyers and, malaki yung influence.
Kahit sila yung pinakaklaro ang profiteering.
Okay, we're gonna go on a quick break. You're watching Storycon on One News. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay. Still with us, Ami Pamitun of the Philippine Star and Ronald Llamas, a resident political heckler.
And joining us this afternoon, the President ng Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Perry Ferreira. Sir, magandang hapon and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Thank you for having the Philippine Chamber of Commerce in your show.
Yes, sir.
Gandang hapon po.
Sir, apparently the President has gotten a commitment from manufacturers na walang gagalaw sa mga presyo from the manufacturer side at least for 30 to 60 days. Given how things are developing, do you think
Is this viable?
Is
Is
it
this
viable and
sustainable? Lalo na ngayon,
Well,
tumaas na ng 100% ang oil.
It is absolutely, it's very challenging, especially for the small, not counting the micro, the small and the medium enterprises, to keep and hold their prices. We've seen a lot of increases already on the logistics cost. So that's the first casualty here in the fuel prices, logistics. So, and we are an import nation, so the logistics costs have certainly spiked. And following that, although there's still stocks in the warehouse or at least in the shelves, but the incoming goods now, we're expecting some increases in the price of imported materials as it arrives the Philippines now. So holding it now maybe for a few weeks, yes, but not longer than that. I would say for the most of the small and medium enterprises.
Actually, Mr. Ferrer, maybe we could take a step back and give us a sense of how your members have been dealing with this crisis. Kasi PCCI is the country's largest business organization, so you have members both that are from the MSME as well as large corporations. Anong mga, what do you guys talk about, and anong mga requests that you have to the government?
So no, currently, and thank you for that question. I'll split my answer between the large and the MSMEs. We'll start with the large. The large has more breathing room. The larger companies have learned from the pandemic a couple of years back or a few years back. So there are BCPs or business continuity plans in place. So that one has been activated. Although there are some unknowns or several unknowns on that BCP, but a lot of the larger companies have more resources, are able to react faster, or at least as soon as that conflict in the Middle East started, really activated the BCPs. Now, one of our biggest concerns are the MSMEs, which constitutes 99.5% of the 1.2 million or so businesses in the Philippines. So 1 million of that is the micro. That together with the small businesses are the first to feel the effects of this fuel crisis or the fuel increases. First, again, we discussed earlier, is the logistics. So that one, and following the fuel prices, the logistic is a domino effect, and then the pamasahe goes up and the electricity goes up. So the small and the micro businesses have very little resources or breathing room when it comes to an uptick in the fuel prices. So that's the first to hit. And we know that this is not going to be resolved in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of the consumers are tightening their belts, and the first to go are the luxury buys. So from cakes and all these luxury goods that, I don't mean the ultra mall luxuries, but just the luxuries when you buy the groceries and the palenques. That's the first to tighten up, and these are the micro and the small enterprises. So they'll feel the pinch immediately right now.
Mr. Ferrer, nabanggit nyo nga,
Yes.
you will try to hold the line for the next 2 to 3 weeks, in the middle of this crisis. Pero tumaas na ngayon by 100% ang diesel. Next week, tataas yan ng another 100%. Sa Tuesday, magiging 130 na. And probably the end of the week, magiging 150 na. So, medyo unstoppable na itong increase. Can you hold the line with this dramatic increase? Dahil transport and logistics are basically diesel-based. Yung mga nagta-transport ay puro diesel yan. Kaya I'm trying to imagine how producers and manufacturers can hold the line na ganito kadramatic yung increase?
You're correct, Ronald, from that point of view. So the stock situation of a lot of the necessities, the basic necessities, I don't think will last 3 weeks. So holding the line is 2 to 3 weeks. It's possible, unlikely, but it's possible. But beyond that, and I don't see any resolution in the past or in the next few weeks. So we should expect, and a lot of the members are really bracing for that dramatic increase in costs and all the inputs into the businesses, let alone the consumers are trying to figure out. We have had a lot of questions. Gaano katataas? How high will this go? And it's really a crystal ball at this point. So,
Ano po yung hinihintay niyo from the government? Kasi si George Barcelon told us he wants to see the excise tax scrapped, actually not even suspended.
we would, we would.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. It goes beyond the excise tax. I don't think if you remove the excise tax, which is 10 pesos on gasoline, 6 on diesel, I don't think you'll feel that now because it's gone 3x
Kung yung VAT,
beyond that.
Kung yung VAT,
So
12%
we're looking at
yun.
VAT. That would be another 10 to 15.
12.
But we should, what we're looking at now is we're trying to work with the government is we should really rationalize the spending and rechannel, reallocate those funds, hopefully to absorb all these fuel increases. Similar to businesses currently. The large corporations, the medium and the large are really looking, do we have to spend this now? All the capex spending are on hold, or any movement in expansion is probably delayed or deferred to the second half. So the businesses are doing that prudently now. We're asking for the government to do it as well. I know there's a budget of 6 trillion or 6.5 trillion. I know all these programs are laid out, but if we could rationalize all of this, do we need to spend this now? And not just not spend it, but let's channel it to absorbing the shocks or the increases in the fuel to defer all this domino effect shocks in the supply chain or in the prices of the base or the goods coming in. So we would like the government to act like a business at this point and tignan natin, kailangan ba to? And just defer it.
But sir, can you expound on that when you say you'd want government to
Rationalize.
rechannel the money into programs that will absorb the price increases of fuel? What do you have in mind? What kind of programs are you looking at that would absorb, for example, itong mga shocks?
And that's where we want to really sit down if needed. But the government, it's 6 trillion.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 3 trillion, half of that. So we're looking at the first half of 2026. What are the programs, that can be deferred, in the budget? They know which programs, and which programs should we prioritize, like sourcing fuel. Look at alternative from the traditional sources of fuel. Let's look at where we can source from other of our friendly bilateral trade partners. So let's focus on that to stabilize the economy by looking at the root cause, which is the fuel and the energy. We saw the Qatar LNGs being hit. That LNG feeds to our gas turbines. So we got a couple of the large gas using power generating companies that would hit the electricity. So we should probably switch to a lot more coal and ensuring that all our coal fire power plants are in 100% capacity and don't do any maintenance during this crisis.
Yeah.
We should,
especially during the summer.
Yes, yes. So,
Mr. Pereira, pinag-uusapan ngayon sa Malacanang at sa different sectors yung possibility of a summit between business, labor, and the church. Alam ko na pag-usapan ito sa Malacanang last Wednesday. Una ay kung sakaling mangyari yan, meron ba kayong consolidated proposal na pwedeng sabihin sa gobyerno? Katulad ng pinag-uusapan natin kanina, not only to mitigate yung present crisis, dahil hindi lang naman dapat reactive 'di ba? Dapat medyo may nakadikit din ito sa medium term proposals. Meron ba kayong ganyan na pag-uusapan or at least nakahanda na kung matutuloy yan next week, yung summit na yan, ay pwede niyong ibigay sa gobyerno?
I'll jump to the medium term as we're seeing now. The Philippines was geared towards globalization, importation. So that's how our country is geared at this moment. So our medium term is what security, energy, food, water security measures can we implement now, and what we need to reform to lessen or significantly lessen the dependence outside from importation like energy. So, anong gagawin natin ngayon? Can our refineries refine the crude that is being pumped out of the Philippine sources, which now we cannot? Our refineries cannot refine the crude that we are getting from our sources. Although small, so we should look at for other sources of fuel or power here in our country. Then there's the food. Then there's several sectors where we can look to lessen the dependency of importation.
Barry, have you guys, has PCCI have had a chance to speak to Finance Secretary Go about this? Of course, Secretary Go comes from the business sector, so he's well known to you guys. Either him or DepDev or any agency that has decision-making power about this. Have you guys had a chance to speak to them?
Not after the crisis. With Secretary Balisacan, yes. But with Secretary Go, the last meeting we had was just before the Mideast crisis. So we're discussing, we're brainstorming here at PCCI together with large and smaller companies what to do now, helping, the big brother, small brother, helping our members where they can save. For example, logistics. Instead of delivering our goods 3 times a week, let's cut it down to once a week. Delivery, and let's do milk runs instead of just point to point A to point B. We're doing point A to B to C to reach to D. So everybody is looking at different ideas and consolidating supplies. Where can we source this product or this material or this input component in the Philippines? So even within the industries are talking. It is a crisis now, and we don't see any end to it in the next couple of weeks. And even if it ends in a couple of weeks, there's a lot of rebuilding. The LNGs in Qatar would take a couple of years to rebuild. So we do have to look for new sources, which I believe these companies are looking for new source of supply. So within the chamber, within PCCI, there's a lot of connections, you'd call, to international sources, and we're activating all those sources where we can source additional from coal. We know it's Indonesia. And, refined fuel, we're speaking with South Korea to ensure that there are no export restrictions on refined fuel, diesel and gasoline, Singapore, amongst others.
Mr. Farrell, sabi
Yes.
nila, we shouldn't waste a good crisis. Are you seeing any silver lining dito sa nangyayari ngayon?
Yes.
Para sa business, para sa business.
Now like what we discussed earlier, globalization, import, supply chain outside. Now, in the past, I'd say 10 days, there's a big shift in mindset of localizing. What can we localize immediately? That's why we are working with several government agencies on support in localizing, both in the export-oriented companies and how the supply chain locally, and there are, can be feeder companies to these export-oriented companies. And again, locally here, how can we increase the local supply chain? So that is top of mind now, is the dependency on imported material.
Pero Reed, that's also a medium to long-term solution because realigning the economy to be more dependent locally is going to take some time. But even now, there's talk of repealing the oil deregulation law. I wonder if you guys have a stand on that already.
Well, I believe we need to review the fuel deregulation. There should be clauses there when crisis like this occurs. We don't like this one to occur, but there should be sections in the law that if a crisis happens, government can, I don't know what term to use.
Yes, sir. But sir, there's Section 14. Section 14 provides for the DOE to be able to take over any business in the industry, in the oil industry, in the event of a national emergency or a calamity or a crisis. It's actually already there. I don't know lang when it will be triggered.
I guess it's in the terminology in identifying, are we in a crisis?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's what we need to really define, review it, because we don't want to be caught between definitions in situations like this. We need to act fast.
Yeah.
So, I was speaking to one Asian company. They learned from past crisis, and currently their fuel stock is 8 months in that country.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
8 months.
You've learned from press crisis.
Wow.
You have to learn, and like what Amy said, you cannot, for every crisis you learn and move forward, because I don't think this is the end of this. It might happen 5 years, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we should be prepared.
Pero yun nga yung problema sa oil deregulation law dahil ang pinaka-powerful decision makers are the big players.
Oil players, yeah.
Diba? So, wala masyadong power yung gobyerno. Unless extreme emergency. No? At very crucial halimbawa ngayon are oil reserves. No? Kung yung oil reserve mo ay 30 days, medyo delikado yun.
Hindi
No?
8 months.
Yung survival ng
Masyadong
bansa
malipis.
mo, nakatali ron. No?
So we should learn from this. Exactly what you said, Ronald. The control is with the few. Should we let it continue? All this scenario that is happening, we should really look what is hampering our actions to be able to help the Filipinos. So we have to create that checklist. Oh, bakit ganito? Like we mentioned earlier. Oh, we should change this because we do not want this to happen. And I don't think it will happen again. It's just time. So, and then maybe we should, we have a lot of dependency on very few sources. So, lawakan natin. Here, we are rich in a lot of this, and we should invest there. So,
And lastly, Perry, before we interviewed you, we were talking to an official from the DTI. Mr. Joel Buwag, he belongs to the monitoring division. And we were asking him what the DTI was doing at this point in time to ensure that there's no, that prices remain fair for the consumers, basically. And he kept coming back to this law against profiteering and hoarding and price manipulation. Pero ang threshold ng profiteering in that definition is 10%. So if your prices increase 10% month on month, considered profiteering na yon. Is that still fair in this context of the back of the war in Iran?
Given our situation now, I believe the government should dictate the price.
Magpa-price
Dapat dito
ceiling
lang.
tayo.
Here's the ceiling. We're all feeling the pinch, everybody. So it's time. There will always be individuals or institutions that would take advantage, and this is where we stop all that. Let's say rice should be this, sardine should be this, or whatever. Noodles should be this, and whatever the basic commodity, and fuel should be this. We all feel the pinch. So there is no room in letting, like we said, profiteering or profiteers take advantage of the situation. So, 10% and 10%. 10%, a lot of this Filipinos cannot afford. You increase the pamasahe. So now it was suspended. But now we're talking about how will you survive? How will this transportation company survive? So we have to look at the root cause. It all boils down to setting and holding and having a stand on the fuel prices. Then everybody benefits. Everybody. So doon in the root cause, when you look at the root cause, is really hopefully the institution, the government can absorb that fuel. Now we don't know how long our stocks are. That's another danger, right? That's another danger and very uneasy feeling. Is it 35 days, 60 days? And it's like a ticking time bomb. So then what's next after
Mr.
that?
Pereira?
Yes.
May pinropose si former NEDA Chair Winnie Monsod na wealth tax. No? Sa Europe, may certain level ng wealth tax, kaya hindi ganun kamasyadong kalaki yung agwat between the super rich and the super poor. No? Tingin nyo ba may iota of viability itong wealth tax na ito? Or pwede in the medium term or in the immediate ay mag-solicit ang presidente sa richest Filipino para mag-contribute in a pot the richest Filipinos, no? Dahil baka hindi pa kaya ito in the immediate, itong wealth tax na ito. Para man lang makita na our elites are contributing para ma-assuage itong crisis, if not the big players. Yung big players kasi lahat pasa sa consumers eh. Pero our elites, so that they can be a bit modernizing during a crisis like this na unprecedented. Pwede ba silang tumulong voluntarily para mag-pot ng kanilang contribution?
When you look at the elites and all these very large multinationals, they're all most of them, probably all of them are public companies. So they have their shareholders. But it's on the tax system tayo makakabawi. To contribute, I think they will. If we're going to ask them to contribute, these big companies or big multinationals, can we have 50 million here, 10 million here? I think when the president asked, they will support. Now, going to the wealth tax, when you look at the Philippine demographics on the rich and the poor, there is the rich on where you're gonna tax, kokonti lang. Konting-konti lang yon. It's very nice, very noble to say. The wealthy, let's tax them. But I don't think it will make a dent. Even past this crisis, there's only very few. What we need to do, what I suggest we need to do is bring this 1 million micros up in the standards of the society. Tulungan natin, from you're a micro, you have micro is like 1 to 9 employees. If we bring them up to 50 employees by opening up more markets for them, showing them, bringing their products or services globally, it's bringing this 1 million micros and 100,000 small companies, bringing them up in the business level. So yun ang dapat natin tulungan, and there's a lot mako-contribute once this 1 million becomes small companies beyond that wealth tax. So it's a numbers game. Yeah, it's nice to tax the wealthy. It's not they won't probably feel it. They won't feel it. And they gladly contribute that. But it won't make a dent. And tulungan natin yung mga kababayan natin na micro companies or small companies. So let's make sure that they progress in their growth and show them new markets, bring up to standards, and bring their products globally, internationally.
Yeah. Yun nga, it's really about
empowerment imbis na ayuda.
Oo. It's really about
We believe in that.
Empowerment.
Yes, we believe in that. Ayuda is very controversial. It will help you a couple of days, but let's bring a system that we don't have to pay ayuda. So
teach him how to fish, in short. But that's the vision, that's the goal. Pero
there are several opportunities if we really just look into it, and really I won't say how, but there are several opportunities not only locally. We import a lot, but the supply chain locally to supply our products to feed other companies, the larger companies, dapat dito na. Most of our food is imported.
yes.
Yes.
In the restaurants. Why can't we have all these chickens and pigs and cows and vegetables? Doon pa lang, madaming, many will, rise from where they are now. It's sad when you see it. We see it in the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, and we're trying to put programs now. This crisis accelerated it.
Yeah.
That why do we have to import all this to feed our very good restaurants here? So
Very good question, and we're gonna have to bring in Secretary Yu Laurel to continue that conversation. But for now, I know you have to go, so we'll leave that there. Thanks so much for joining Storycon and talking to us. That was Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Perry Ferrer.
Thank you.
Salamat po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we're on until 5:30. Storycon will be right back after a quick break. Please stay tuned.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
Welcome back to Storycon. We're in the last stretch of the program. I'm Regina Lee.
I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, Rol Llamas and Ami Pamintuan. So, magbantay ka na sa grocery, ha? Tingnan mo yung mga presyo na dito mataas ang
Ako,
This
grocery
past
ako.
few days, itong past week tumaas eh. Kaya nga sinasabi.
Ami.
Ako every week. Hindi pa naman. Hindi pa siya masyado. Yung bigas lang ang Although yung basis ko for the bigas from about 2 months ago pa yon.
So may pakonti-konti.
Medyo malaki.
May pakonti-konti. It's not been a big jump.
Wala pa sa grocery.
Remember, yung figure is
Sa
10%.
palengke talaga namang sensitive yan. Hindi, ang palengke talaga sensitive yan. Agricultural product yan eh. Sensitive talaga sila sa logistics cost. Pag mahal ng gasolina, mahal lahat yan sa
Pero also, our point kanina with what's his name, Buwag, is how do you make sure that it's also fair to the people who are selling? Kasi ang laki ng tinaas ng gasolina tsaka ng diesel eh. Baka mamaya, babante mo hindi tumaas ng 10%.
Tumataas talaga.
Tumaas naman talaga ng
Palengke talaga
sobra-sobra yung
100%.
transportation cost.
And as Perry
Next week, another 100%.
as Perry pointed out, MSMEs are the backbone of this country. So 99% of businesses in this country are MSMEs.
At
And
hindi
so
mahabang PC.
sila yung mga hindi kayang i-absorb tong mga extra higher logistics costs tsaka higher fuel costs. So syempre ipapass through nila yan. Now my question to Buwag is, how do you know whether it's legitimate pass-through cost lang or profiteering na? Kasi 10% should not apply in this case because we're in crisis mode nga.
Baka hindi si Buwag ang tatanungin mo, si Secretary Roque.
Well, we have been trying Secretary Roque, of course, but haven't managed to get her. Pero yun nga, I mean, this is an extraordinary situation, is my only point. And not naman to side with the retailers, pero kung yung vast majority of the retailers in this country are small businesses, then mahirap din naman, charge mo sila ng profiteering when they're just passing through the cost.
Kaya ko, last mile sila eh. Di ba sila yung last mile eh? So,
Sila yung nag-import, then binibenta to the consumers, right? So, parang...
Kinikwento nung iba, yung iba nagkikwento, sabi nila, nagka-cut sila ng halimbawa, i-deliver yan dyan, di ba? Eh, dinadamihan na lang daw nila yung laman. Parang double load per trip para mabawasan yung trip nila. Para mabawasan yung logistics cost. Yan, isa sa mga Tapos sabi nila, yung ibang in-interview, sabi nila, alam mo, yung mga lalo sa wet market, ang mga namimili dito mga hindi rin naman mayayaman, kaya nag-aalala din sila na baka kumonte yung customer. Kapag nagmahal masyado, kaya nag-i-ship din
Ayun na
sila.
yung supply and demand tension.
Yeah. Nag-aalala din sila na baka iba na lang ang bili ng mga yan, magtipid dyan, baka puro tuyo na lang ang iulam ng mga yan. Nag-aalala din sila ng gano'n eh.
I like the, excuse me, I like yung idea ni Perry for the government to, what was this word? Reallocate?
Rechannel.
Rechannel? No, not rechannel. There's a business term for it, and I just forget at this point. To basically look at the budget again and see which programs realign. To see which programs can be deferred. Kasi nga, here we are. We've hit a crisis so early in the year. Baka naman may mga programs there that can be deferred a bit later on.
Yun nga yung proposal ng labor, yung 20% ng hard budget. Yun, hindi makaka-apekto yun eh. Yung hard pork na nandyan.
Tinitingnan ko sa budget, also known as, kasi technically illegal na yung pork barrel, di ba? I'm trying to look nga kung saan sa budget, alin yung line items na baka pwedeng hindi muna.
Kaso yung mga politiko natin, yan yung pinag-aawayan ngayon eh.
Yeah.
Di ba?
Pero before you look at that, you also have to look at where to realign to. Kasi mamaya, kung saan
yun ang tatanong ko sana. Saan i-realign?
Oo.
Pwede
It has to make sense.
Pwede nga token lang muna eh. 50% nung confidential at intelligence fund ng buong gobyerno.
Confidential funds ni President Marcos.
Aabot yan. Yung kay President Marcos, 2.5B na yun, yung 50%. Diba?
Bined mo nga kayo ng Malacanang dyan sa confidential fund ni President Marcos. Hindi ba yun ang panawagan ng iba?
Yeah.
Imbis na, yun ang sabi ni Win Gatchalian actually. Imbis na yung excise tax suspendihin, yung confidential fund gamitin pang ayuda. Pinedma sila ng Malacanang. No comment.
One output for it, Ed, is, yun nga, as Perry was saying, you look for diverse sources of oil. Hindi lang yung sa usual markets na in Asia, that's South Korea, China, Vietnam, Singapore, that we buy from, but potentially other places. That's one place that the money could go to, apart from subsidies, of course. Yung subsidies kailangan ongoing din yan.
But now is not the ideal time. Dahil
Everyone's being protectionist.
At saka everyone is increasing their prices. So, pwede yan medium term. Immediately even pagpalagay mo na matapos yung gera in 1 month, which is disastrous for us. Pero kahit matapos yan,
Teka lang, bakit ka tumatakot?
all the others will be conservative eh.
Ayan.
Kukuhan muna nila, baka pumutok uli eh, di ba? So,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a consequence of this war, right? Talagang everyone will become more nationalist, be more protectionist.
Ronald, ano ba tayo? Madali ba tayong matuto? Will we learn our lesson and tama ba yung sinasabi na we can focus more on our domestic production imbis na lahat ini-import, pati asin, bigas, lahat-lahat dito imported eh.
Sabi nga ni Principal,
Pati galunggong
ng,
natin imported eh. Matututo kaya tayo after the
sabi ni
crisis is
Principal,
over.
kailangan ng reset. Pero yung reset, hindi lang sa...
Yan ang word ng reset na yan.
You read between the
Iba ibig
lines.
sabihin ng reset.
Kasama kasi sa reset ay character. No? Kailangan i-overhaul natin yung ating traditional character.
And this is the debate we were having kanina sa break, Ami. Did
Yeah.
did deregulation, did globalization fail us? And my thing about it is, the government failed us. Deregulation did not fail us.
Yeah.
Because supposedly, even as you deregulate, may mga provisions yun na, okay, build up your own
For the
strategic
government to
reserves.
intervene, di ba?
Oh.
Pero yan ang problema sa
May
structural
timely
adjustment.
intervention dapat yun eh.
Based on neoliberal globalization. The ones dictating it are the stronger
Exactly.
countries. So,
Exactly.
Oy, pasok ka sa ganito Pero kami, ganito ang aming balance of power. So, hindi equal kasi ang globalization eh. Medyo hindi paboldo sa maliliit.
Hindi talaga. It's not gonna be equal.
Talaga namang ganun ang global economy is like that.
And that's why a key thing about globalization is you have to be competitive in something, which we hardly got to. Ano ba yung
Magaling
areas?
naman tayo sa corruption.
Ang ginawa kasi ng mga...
Sige,
Grabe naman si
try to import that. Sige.
Hindi, tsaka ang ginawa ng mga...
Try to
Can we
export that.
export that?
Try to export that.
Ang ginawa
Can we
kasi ng
export
iba,
that?
halimbawa yung mga kapitbahay natin na maliliit, wala masyadong natural
Manufacturing.
resources, they focus on education at namili sila ng comparative
education,
advantage.
very
Halimbawa,
important.
Singapore, pinili nila sila yung lalamang dito, aeronautics, no? Ang Taiwan,
competitiveness yan
microchips, di ba? Doon sila nag-focus. At yung kanilang buong educational system,
It's crazy because
naka-gear doon, di ba?
because I lived in Singapore 10 years, 'di ba? Yun ang talagang walang natural resources.
Yeah. Tubig nga. Tubig naman nila.
Pati
Galing
tubig
Malaysia.
ini-import from Malaysia. And then here naman, we are abundant in natural resources, but we have not
Lahat
exploited
imported.
it.
At sila yung first world.
Sila yung first
Dito,
world. Oo.
Halimbawa, other countries, for lack of a better example, China, no? Binuksan nila, nag-free market sila to some extent, may state component which
Pero
is very
hybrid
strong.
yun eh.
Hybrid, ayan
Oo,
sinasabi
hybrid,
ko.
oo.
No,
Hindi
hybrid
pwedeng
Completely open,
oo,
completely
yung
free.
free market, deregulation, no? Yung terms na
But
yan
they supported their
na ini-impose
domestic
sa'yo ng
industries
bigger
heavily.
countries, dapat wag mo sundin. Dapat meron kang hybrid. Dapat may modified ka based sa iyong sariling limits at saka potential.
Which is maybe what we
Saka
should...
they supported their domestic production.
Yes.
And
Paano,
they
halimbawa,
poured
Singapore and
resources
Taiwan
heavily
has a
into
strong state.
education.
May strong state intervention
China.
sila di ba?
Correct.
Kahit free market yung system.
There are some assets, for example, oil, that are so critical na, kunyari sa Taiwan, for example, they have this mechanism called a dual price smoothing mechanism. So yung state refiner absorbs the price increases. So yung increase sa consumer is konti lang kasi yung state nag-absorb for the most part. Kasi they also have a state refiner, to be fair. Tayo wala tayong state
That would have been
refiner.
Petron long ago.
Except we deregulated and then it landed,
Completely sold it.
It ended up in private hands.
Naalala ko nung isang conference sa Vietnam 2 years ago. So, may forum, yung Communist Party of Vietnam, yung ruling party. Sabi nung mga ibang NGOs na European, binabanatan sila for being dictatorial, centralist, authoritarian, ganun-ganon, no? Sumagot yung isang
ganun yung
sumagot yung
gobyerno
isang
nila, eh.
leader. Have
Ganun
you
yung
read our
gobyerno
history?
nila.
Yeah.
Yung ganun nung kwan. Doon sa European, have you read our history? Because if you have read our history, in spite of our imperfections, we are still more democratic than when we were before the Vietnam War. No? Sabi niya gano'n. So, ibig sabihin, different strokes for different folks.
And it has
diba?
worked for them.
Yeah.
It has worked
At
for
ngayon, mabilis yung kanilang debate. Hindi ko sinasabi na yun ang uubra
Look-
sa atin. Ha?
Oo.
Pero ang sinasabi nila, for us,
Oo, this
who
is
have
what
been-
works.
who have been fighting China for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Oh.
And now
Who
they
have been-
are-
Who have defeated 3 superpowers. France, US, China. No? Ito yung ginagawa namin ngayon.
Yan din ang sinasabi ng China in their development.
And-
May sarili kaming we have our own system.
And that is what
we have our own beliefs.
that has worked for Vietnam. because they have adopted their own style. So now they have deep economic and defense ties with China, security ties with China. But lalo na economic.
Pareho din ng China. Even Singapore, may sarili silang definition ng
So maybe
ng a lot of things.
maybe the lesson there is we never should have adopted fully the Western style of democracy. Yun ba yung lesson here?
Hindi. Yung economy. Yung sinasabing...
Hindi pwedeng neoliberal fully.
Western style
yun.
capitalism.
For lack of a better example, like Singapore. Diba? May strong state, may free market, pero may regulation.
Meron
diba? Yun yung sinasabi ko. So, you're able to get the best of all worlds. No? Hindi yung, ito yung maganda, neoliberal globalization, deregulation, privatization, etc. Oops! Baka doon sa mga developed countries,
Iba
okay
din yung
yun.
values at that
Diba?
time nila eh.
Baka sa kanila
iba.
malakas na yung institution. Pwede. Sa atin, transitional tayo eh.
Yung sa Vietnam,
Mamamatay na ako, nagta-transition pa rin tayo. Hindi. We've had a strong arm, strong man rule. Lahat ng klaseng gobyerno nagkaroon na tayo eh. Ano nangyari sa atin?
Except communism.
Except communism. Sabi ng ang Singapore had a strong government, pero dinagdagan nila ng institutional strengthening eh. Tayo wala eh. Pahina actually institution natin.
Malakas yung accountability mechanism doon, and that made all the difference.
At even yung inclusivity nila, ay mahalaga yung role ng state. Na respeto
Mahal nila
sa
yung
mga
bansa
iba't
kasi
ibang
nila.
mga ethnic groups sa kanila. No?
Mahal nila yung bansa nila, tayo mahal natin sarili lang.
should we leave it there?
No, we shouldn't leave that there.
Yan ang sabi ni Cardinal Sin.
Akala ko
After
sabi ko silver
1986.
lining.
Yan ang sabi ni
Akala ko
silver
Cardinal
lining,
Sin.
ha?
So, Ami optimistic pa rin.
Kanya.
Akala ko
Wait. What's that, Ami?
Diba, after 1986, yan na lagi sinasabi ni Jaime Cardinal Sin. Ano ba naman kayo? Kanya-kanya tayo lahat.
Okay. That's true.
Simula pa, yan ay sinasabi niya eh. Love your country, not yourself.
Sabi rin kasi ni Cardinal Sin, napatalsik natin si Alibaba, pero naiwan yung 40 teams.
Naiwan yung 40 teams. Hindi lang 40 ngayon. 4,000 na yata ngayon.
Ano ka ba? We can't end like that, guys. Ano ba yan?
Ako dapat yung
Tapos bumalik yung anak ni Alibaba.
Ako yung pessimist siya, yung silver lining. Ako yung silver lining.
Friday.
8 in 10 Pinoys.
Friday
8 in 10 Pinoys are
Ano?
happy or satisfied with their life.
Inulit mo na yung
bago to
kanina mo
crisis.
sinabi.
Hindi, iba yun kanina, 33% eh. That's a far cry from
33.
80.
Oh, iba naman to.
Yung 33, very happy.
Okay.
Pero yung happy and satisfied, mga 80 naman. Happy and satisfied. Pero yung very happy talaga, 33 lang.
Doon ako sa 33,
But
kasama ako rin.
I think this survey was taken
out of 1,000,
before the
ano?
crisis. Before
Kasama
the
ako sa
crisis
33. Hindi kasama si Reg doon. Laging galit eh.
Na very happy.
Oo.
Sige nga. Because I cover the business and economic.
Papasok tayo sa weekend, masaya tayo ng konti.
Kasi pa naman, I cover the economy, so what is there to be happy
Biglang
about?
bawi si Ami.
Silver lining.
Silver lining. Kasama ko sa 33%.
I was asking for silver lining or you develop the domestic industries. Tingnan natin kung matuloy. Nagre-rely na lang sila sa local sourcing. Tignan natin kung mag-develop nga yan.
Sige, iwan natin doon kasi baka mamaya lumalapay yung usapan natin eh.
Dahil mawala yung silver
Ayan
lining.
nga, positive. Silver lining.
So there's been a mindset change to localize more. That's good. That's
Yeah.
very good. Sana hindi...
Yan, tignan natin.
It's easier said than
Baka
done.
sakaling kahit asin man lang, maging self-reliant tayo. Kahit asin man lang. We're producing only 2% of our asin.
I mean, come on, bigas.
Well, iba naman yung
Number
asin mo
one
kasi.
crop.
Asin, may problema tayo sa...
We're the biggest
Iodizing the salt.
we're the biggest importer of rice right now. No? Dati
yan na nga.
tayo net
Lahat ng
exporter.
basic natin.
We
Kahit
also-
gatas na kailangan ng mga babies natin para mawala yung stunting. we're importing, I think, about 97%.
Sabi ko sa inyo, itudok na natin kasi mamaya si Ami pupuntahin sa mag-export na tayo ng corruption.
Kanina positive ako. Gusto nyo na yung normal na balita na
Go
to. Normal.
local. Go local. Oh, that's what
Go
we're gonna end the
local.
show on. Go local. Buy
Go
local.
local.
Buy local, everybody.
Yeah, go local, buy local.
Ay, local,
Yeah.
local.
Ginawa yan ng Korea
Ano ba
noon,
sabihin?
nung nag-industrialize sila.
Local.
And that is all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining Storycon. Ami Paminton, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, Ronald Llamas, a resident political pundit. Again, buy local. Join us again Monday, 4 p.m. for
Local.
Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Edwin Cao, kapatid. We are One News. On site, hihirit ka pa.
Lokal kayo.
O sige, goodbye na. All sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.